Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for CalRecycle's July 2023 public meeting. This meeting is for Californians by Californians as we work together to protect our communities and fight climate change. Let's watch a quick reminder before diving in.
El idioma no debe ser una barrera cuando se trata de proteger nuestro aire, nuestra agua y tierra. CalRecycle está transmitiendo simultáneamente esta junta pública en español e inglés. Puede encontrar el enlace en línea en español e inglés en la parte superior de nuestra página web calrecycle.ca.gov. Language shouldn't be a barrier when it comes to protecting our air, water, and land. CalRecycle is simulcasting this meeting in English and Spanish. Click the public meeting banner at the top of calrecycle.ca.gov for a link to our webcasts in both English and Spanish.
Our first, or if you're attending this meeting in person in Byron Share Auditorium, Hello? Okay, sorry if we had a technical issue. If you're attending this meeting in person in Byron Share Auditorium, we have Spanish translation devices available. Let our team on your left-hand side of the dais know if you need one.
Buenos días. Si asiste a esta junta en persona en Byron Share, tenemos dispositivos de traducción al español disponibles. Informe a nuestro equipo al lado izquierdo del mostrador de presentación ejecutiva si necesita uno. Gracias.
Our first agenda item today is the Director's Report. Director Rachel Mackey-Wagner joins us now with some important updates. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for all of you who are joining us in person and remotely. We have a lot of progress to share with all of you and a lot of progress that we're making over the course of our summer months. So please look at CalRecycle's website to track all of the workshops and other activities that we have. You now can find a calendar on our homepage that will outline our workshops from SB 1013 implementation to SB 54 implementation and all of the other opportunities to engage with the department. So please remember to check the website on a regular basis to see where we are on those activities. I want to first applaud the CalRecycle SB 54 team for the incredible progress that they are making. They are working overtime to and a lot of late nights and weekends to make sure that we get SB 54 implemented on time. And along those lines, we have appointed the SB 54 Advisory Board, who will be absolutely critical in helping us develop the policy and advise the PRO in implementation of this incredibly important piece of legislation. We have membership from the manufacturers, recycling and solid waste enterprises, retail and grocery associations, local government, environmental organizations and environmental justice organizations, and disadvantaged communities. Absolutely critical in the successful implementation of SB 54 will be the partnerships we build. So please help us welcome the members of the new advisory board. For those of you who are not on the advisory board, it's still an important and absolutely critical opportunity to participate in the implementation of 54 and provide that advice. So those will be board meetings that you will be able to participate in as well, even if you do not sit on the board. Important to note, there is a 16th member of the advisory board representing the Producer Responsibility Organization, which will be appointed following the selection of the Producer Responsibility Organization by CalRecycle in 2024. So for you, those of you who were that are acutely paying attention, there is a 16th slot that has not been filled but will be filled upon selection of the PRO. And with that, I want to thank everybody again for being here and joining us. We have a lot of exciting updates to give, so take it away, Maria.
Thanks, Rachel. Packaging is 25% of the waste California disposes each year. Here's what California is doing to cut packaging pollution.
California is leading the change to slash single-use plastic pollution.
This week, Governor Gavin Newsom signed groundbreaking legislation to cut back single-use plastics and boost recycling for what's left.
holding the plastic industry accountable for cutting waste at the source to stop the flow of plastic pollution that's clogging our ocean, polluting our air, contaminating our water, and infecting our food.
This law would also make plastic manufacturers cover the cost of recycling instead of you, the taxpayer.
Called the most sweeping law to phase out single-use plastics and other packaging waste, California set the nation's toughest rules to reduce single-use plastics by requiring that by 2032, 25% of plastic packaging is cut, 65% of single-use packaging is recycled, and 100% of all packaging in California is recyclable or compostable. The new law could eliminate over 20 million tons of plastic waste in the next decade, accelerating California's move to a circular economy with sustainable product design to protect our communities, restore our oceans, and safeguard our clean, healthy future for our children and their children.
CalRecycle's next informal SB 54 workshop is on July 24th and 25th at 10 a.m. on both days. The July 24th workshop will focus on the recycling rate, compostable items, the definition of reusable and refillable, the definition of producer, the producer responsibility plan, and data reporting. The July 25th workshop will focus on an update on the needs assessment, eco-modulated fee, and enforcement. More information and materials will be provided through our listserv. The next SB 1383 chat with CalRecycle will be held in August. The June chat with CalRecycle recording is now available on our YouTube channel. We also have 2 beverage container recycling program workshops happening next month. On August 10th, there's an informational session regarding dealer cooperatives. On August 31st, we will have a workshop on dealer cooperative draft language. Check out CalRecycle's online calendar at the top of our homepage at calrecycle.ca.gov for upcoming workshops, public hearings, and other engagement opportunities. This is your one-stop place to stay informed about CalRecycle meetings and actions. Please click subscribe at the bottom of the calendar page to get emailed calendar updates. Moving on, CalRecycle has $90 million in grants available for communities to cut food waste, keep organics out of our landfills, and feed Californians in need. The Division of the Circular Economy Deputy Director, Zoe Heller, is here with more details. Good morning, Zoe.
Good morning, Maria. CalRecycle has $90 million in grants available for communities to cut food waste, keep organics out of landfills, and feed Californians in need. The 2022 budget tasked CalRecycle with administering a grant program meant to aid the implementation of SB 1383. The proposed criteria was sent to the public for comment in early June. Thank you all for your comments. We received 35, mostly addressing applicant eligibility and eligible costs. Based on public feedback, eligible costs for the grant program were amended to include trailers, food dehydrators, mobile app development, and mobile pantries. Base award amounts were also increased from $50,000 to $75,000. All comments will be addressed in our FAQs, which will be available when the application is released. $90 million in grant funds will be available to cities, counties, regional or joint power authorities, and special districts that provide solid waste collection services. Each eligible jurisdiction will receive a base grant award of $75,000. The remaining funds will be distributed to eligible jurisdictions based on per capita applications like we did last year. For example, if 3 jurisdictions join to submit a regional application, the base award amount will be $225,000. A list of estimated amounts will be posted with the notice of funds available and in the grants management system. Our tentative timeline is September of 23 will be the application release, November of 23 will be the application due date, and March of 24 will be when we award the grants. All right, moving on to beverage container. Next on the agenda, EvTech Inc. is expanding its Sunnyvale beverage container recycling pilot project to provide mobile bag drop and eco-trailer CRV redemption services to Cupertino. The Sunnyvale pilot project will use $500,000 in CalRecycle awarded grant funds to process bottles and cans by using an artificial intelligence system. There will also be an on-site attendant available. Next slide. Okay, moving to CalRecycle's local government waste tire amnesty grant program awards. $1.25 million will go to 25 awardees across the state. 24 are fully funded and 1 is partially funded. 11 awardees are disadvantaged communities and in the border region. Since 2013, the local government Waste Tire Amnesty Grant Program has helped keep more than 1.8 million tires out of our communities and watersheds. We also have a recycling market development zone loan announcement. Precon Products in Palmdale, California will use $11 million in RMDZ loans for equipment, site improvements, and to expand their business. The company uses recycled aggregate to make concrete products and road base. With the help of the loan, Precon Products is expected to keep an additional 8,000 tons of concrete waste from landfills and create 10 new jobs. We also have some local Conservation Corps grants to announce. All 14 certified local conservation corps applied for the $27.8 million in funding. The local Conservation Corps provided services in disadvantaged communities, including the border region. These programs help clean up our communities and reduce waste, but they also help provide valuable career development skills for Corps members. CalRecycle is required to review and either approve or disapprove each countywide or regional agency integrated waste management plan 5-year review report. The counties of Sacramento, Marin, and Tehama submitted a 5-year review report for their countywide and regional integrated waste management plans, concluding no revisions to the county and regional agencies' planning documents are necessary at this time. CalRecycle has approved these items. Back to you, Maria.
Just a reminder, you can submit your public comments on any of today's agenda items. Here's how.
California wants your input on recycling and trash pollution issues. Join CalRecycle's decision-making process by submitting a public comment on any of today's agenda items. Microphones are available for those of you in the room. If you're joining remotely, just click the public meeting banner at the top of our website. Then click the public meeting portal to send us your feedback. We'll address public comments at the end of the meeting.
Moving on now to our pending solid waste and tire facilities permits. Here's how California facility standards help keep our communities safe.
Protecting the health of Californians and their land, food, water, and air is a big job. Local, state, and federal agencies play different roles to enforce public health and environmental safety standards. In California, solid waste local enforcement agencies process applications, issue, and enforce permits for solid waste facilities. These include landfills, transfer stations, compost facilities, or similar operations. CalRecycle must verify permits are consistent with state requirements. Permits can only address areas within the authority of local enforcement agencies and CalRecycle. Check out the link below for more detailed information. Emergency waivers allow temporary changes to solid waste permit requirements in response to local or state disasters. Local enforcement agencies may approve the waivers, which are good for up to 120 days and may be extended. CalRecycle must review approved waivers and can condition, limit, suspend, or terminate them. Check out the link for more detailed information. For waste tire facilities, CalRecycle processes applications, issues, and enforces waste tire permits. These include requirements to make sure tires are stored and processed in a way that reduces potential threats from fire and disease-carrying vectors like mosquitoes. Check out the link for more detailed information.
Environmental Program Manager 2, Paulina Lawrence from CalRecycle's Waste Permitting, Compliance, and Mitigation Division joins us now with a statewide update on facility permits.
Thank you, Maria. Hello, everyone. I just want to do a brief outline of what we will be discussing today that has occurred since last month. The department has agreed with the LEA's decision and has concurred on 3 solid waste facilities permit. The department is continuing review of 1 solid waste facilities permit, and also we are announcing the review of 1 new solid waste permit and another new solid waste permit that is not currently listed on today's agenda. So we have received no new emergency waivers since last month. On July 5th, 2023, the The department concurred on a modified solid waste facilities permit for Moreno Valley Solid Waste Recycling and Transfer Facility. This is located in Riverside County. Action was needed August 20th. On July 11th, 2023, a revised solid waste facilities permit for Gold Coast Recycling, Inc. Was concurred on by the department. This facility is located in Ventura County. Action was needed by September 3rd. And then on July 12th, 2023, a modified solid waste facilities permit was concurred on by the department for active recycling material recovering facility and transfer station in the city of Los Angeles. Action was needed July 30th of this month. Continuing on the agenda is Aerojet Waste Consolidation Unit. This facility is located in Sacramento County. It's a new solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed by July 31st. New to the agenda is the City of Reading Transfer Station Materials Recovery and Composting Facility, located at 2255 Abernathy Lane. This is in Shasta County. It's a revised solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed August 26, 2023. Preliminary review of the permit package indicates the proposed changes, updates to the transfer processing report, report of composting site information, and odor impact minimization plan. The permit will also be removing the vehicle limit of 482 vehicles per day and will instead be regulated as per Title 14, Section 17418.3 under traffic control, and then there will be the addition of food waste as an accepted composting feedstock. New and not on the agenda is Paris Transfer Station and Material Recovery Facility located at 1706 Goetz Road. This is in Riverside County. It's a modified solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed September 10th, 2023. Preliminary review of the permit package indicates the following proposed changes, updates to the following sections of the permit. It includes prohibition documents that describe and or restrict the operations, self-monitoring, and enforcement agency conditions. And as mentioned before, we received no emergency waivers as of last month. Thank you, Maria.
Thanks, Paulina. You can find more information on any of today's agenda items. Just go to CalRecycle's homepage and click on the public meeting web banner at the top of our site for a link to the agenda and associated public notices. Now it's time for public comments. First, we'll take comments from the public present in our Cali, PA headquarters meeting room today here in Sacramento. If you have a comment, please approach one of the two microphones.
Good morning, Evan Edgar Associates. I'm here to talk about wood waste today. Next month is SB 498 annual report that comes every August to CalRecycle, and what it does, it posts all the different wood chips going to bioenergy. And since 2015, the amount of wood chips for the urban sector decreased from about 1.8 million tons to 0.9 million tons. So we lost about 1 million tons of market share in 5 years. And that's a lot of tons to lose. Every year when the SB 498 report is posted, I always ask CalRecycle to do a market development report. We just lost 1 million tons of capacity. What do we do with that? And the last time there was any type of bioenergy action plan about bioenergy was 2012. That was done in-house by the California Energy Commission with GL11. Great report, but it's 2012. Last time there was a 75% plan was 2014. So what we're missing is about how to deal with wood waste, and wood waste is the #2 waste stream in the landfill, and we haven't had a workshop on wood waste since the 90s. So it's kind of time to talk about and get it back on our radar screen. CalRecycle has a zero waste report due on July 1st, 2026, and that's 3 years from now, and the industry can't wait for 3 years. So what I did here, I put together a top-down wood waste market development plan to get to 75% for wood waste diversion, which means about diverting about 4 million tons we need to find a home for. And what do we do with the 4 million tons of wood waste to get to 75% by 2030 is a realistic date. What we do know is by to hit 75%, we have to have 1.4 million tons of disposal is targeted number for disposal of wood waste in the landfill. What to do with the 4 million tons? Well, I think by 2030, some of the biomass plants, there's a report that, I think it's AB 988, there's a study bill about what to do with the online biomass industry from the 80s. We're losing a lot of capacity, but I think some are being repowered down in Rio Bravo and other places, so there's some clean biomass from the old school 80s technologies that's being upgraded. I believe the urban sector can have about 0.5 million tons by 2030. The problem here is we're being crowded out by the forest sector. There's a lot of good incentives going on in the forest sector, and online biomass plants have to have 80% of the feedstocks come from the forest sector. So therefore, the urban sector gets crowded out, and that's too bad. But and then within the biomat program, it's up to 3 megawatt community scale. This is gasification. Under the PRC code, it's biomass conversion facilities using gasification technologies and making biochar. I think a fair share number of the projects I got going on, about 250,000 tons a year that will go to the biomat program. The next program is SB 1383 procurement. Now, there's 5 different products the industry can have, but with a blended portfolio, you can pick compost, woody mulch, heat, RNG, and bioenergy. So I believe that the 1383 procurement, maybe 750,000 tons with a number that is a balanced portfolio with other waste products organic waste products you can procure. The next line is compost feedstock, about 1 million tons. Now, we have the carbon nitrogen limitations. All that wood waste, we just can't compost at all. The Sierra Club thinks we can take all that forest waste and compost it. Well, we have some carbon nitrogen limitations. Even that 1 million tons is being crowded out by the ag sector. Agriculture had a 5-year phase out in the Central Valley to no longer burn ag waste. All that ag waste is now going compost feedstock to the biosolids facility. So we hope maybe we can get another 1 million tons out of compost feedstock to balance out the CN ratio with all that new food waste. We're not sure. So the ag waste is crowding us out. For the last 3 years, the California Compost Coalition sponsored bills to kind of integrate urban, ag, and forest sector waste, because we have all these policies, all these incentives, different type of haul costs, different tip fee, different technology sometimes. You know, what's the best way to manage ag, urban, and forest waste? We couldn't get that done. So we tried 3 times, go to the legislature, and it was killed at the agency level because of the potential cost to do a organic waste scoping plan. But we need to, because we are the urban sector is competing against ag for compost feedstocks, competing against the forest sector for bioenergy projects. The last program to get to 4 million tons, a divergence of biomass to hydrogen. There's a lot of play going on. What is green hydrogen? The Skinner bill, a lot going on in hydrogen space. There are projects coming on board from Richmond to Pittsburgh and around the state. Biomass to hydrogen is very viable. It's a great market. So I believe by 2030, with a blended portfolio, there's opportunity to take our wood waste and do something with it. This is what the industry is seeing. I'd like to work with CalRecycle staff to sit down with your knowledge integration branch, talk about these tons, talk about the programs, and have some type of analysis so that when your SB 498 report is published every year, there's a wood waste market development plan. Because the way it's going now, by default, I don't see a plan coming out of CalRecycle until July 1st, 2026, 3 years from now. Next year, on July 1st, 2024, in the budget trailer bill, you have to report to the legislature how you're going to do the zero waste plan and what things are deficient or what programs aren't working. Maybe it's part of the July 1st, 2024 plan that you can talk about wood waste, because we haven't talked about it since the 90s. There's a responsibility at CalRecycle to have a market development plan for all feedstocks, including wood waste. We just haven't seen it yet, but it's timely we say something about it, because we have these great technologies. We're getting repowered. We got procurement. We have a lot of opportunity in wood waste, but nobody talks about it. So let's start talking about that again. I look forward to working with your staff.
Thanks, Evan. As usual, thank you so much for paying attention to these really important issues, and would be happy to set up some time when Deputy Director Morgan is back to chat about how can we integrate this into the broader organics plan. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Handouts in the back of the class.
Are there any other public comments in the room?
Good morning. This is Larry Sweetser on behalf of the now 27 rural county members of the Environmental Services Joint Powers Authority. And just want to say thank you for the changes to the SB 1383 grant program. We made some comments, you listened and incorporated those. Talked to Zoe this morning and appreciate that. Our big point was that many of our rural counties are short-staffed. They don't have ability to apply for the funds, so it wasn't clear originally that they would get the base amount when we did a regional grant. And so in order for them to participate, they're going to need us to do that regional grant or someone else to do that for them. So by including that base amount, it really makes it more of an opportunity for them to participate. Also, the travel costs in there, making sure that travel costs, including lodging, are all incorporated. It wasn't clear originally, and I think that'll be in the new scope because some of our counties actually from corner to corner can be over 8 hours one way. So they may have to stay overnight to do a visit. And also in the winter, especially if you ever tried to get to the eastern side, you have to go through Nevada. I had to stay there once on a different program. So allowing for that short-term out-of-state travel would be helpful. And I understand those are going to be included. So just wanted to say thank you.
Appreciate the comment and appreciate the engagement with the program, and this is how these things end up being successful, is when we have that productive engagement. So thank you for that.
Any other comments in the meeting?
Hola, buenos días a todos. Necesito la ayuda, sí, por favor.
Sí, yo voy a traducir. Cada vez en cuando puede tomar una pausa para que yo pueda traducir por usted. Sí, okay. I will be translating. I just asked if you could take a brief pause every now and then so I could translate.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Appreciate you.
Yeah, of course.
Buenos días a todos. Voy a dar mi punto de vista, lo que está pasando en mi persona, que creo que todos estamos viviendo esta situación, ¿verdad? Con los recicladores, los que tenemos centro de reciclaje.
¿Cree que está bien la situación?
No.
No? Okay.
Voy a dar mi punto de vista, ¿verdad? Lo que yo estoy viviendo en mi persona, aunque sé que todos estamos viviendo esta mala racha con el reciclaje.
Good morning. I know we are all in this together. I'm here today to offer my point of view and my opinion.
Hace 10 años empecé con mis negocios con mucho trabajo y esfuerzo, ¿verdad? Ahorita tengo cinco reciclajes aquí en el área de Sacramento.
I got started in the recycling business about 10 years ago, and I started everything from the ground up. I own 5 recycling businesses here in the Sacramento area.
Lamentablemente es una pena. Me estoy viendo obligado a que parte de lo que tengo lo voy a cerrar. No puedo sostener ya los gastos que tengo.
Unfortunately, I may have to close some of my locations given the rising cost, and my business just can't keep up anymore.
Ustedes se darán cuenta los cambios que van a ver. Voy a tener que cerrarlos. Es una pena. No sé, es algo ridículo, ¿verdad? Los gastos están los precios que está poniendo CalRecycle. Todos saben, CalRecycle sabe lo que está pasando. No podemos sobrevivir. Hace más gente aquí. Yo no sé qué pasa con nosotros. He hablado ya con bastantes. Hemos hablado ya que vamos a tener que hacer un cambio porque no se puede, en verdad no se puede.
I have talked among my partners and I have discussed that unfortunately, just given our situation and the rising costs and the fees set by CalRecycle, we can no longer keep up, and it is just very frustrating and an upsetting situation.
No es suficiente que los precios están muy bajos, ¿verdad? La compañía MIS, la procesadora, aún toca que pagarle a ellos por ir a tirar el material. Dese cuenta de lo que está pasando, es algo ridículo ya.
¿Puede recalcar eso, por favor?
Sí. Le digo que aún lo que paga parte de CalRecycle, sabemos que es bajo, ¿verdad? Pero aún así, todavía nos toca que pagar dinero a MIS, la procesadora, por ir a llevar el material.
The processing payments issued by CalRecycle are low, and on top of that, I'm having to just put more of my money into the daily operation, and we can't keep up.
So, pues por favor, pedimos un cambio, ¿verdad? Yo a nombre de todos, creo para la siguiente vez nos vamos a unir más, a hacernos notar que la situación que estamos pasando muy duras.
This is a tough time for us. I have consulted with my partners, and we are asking CalRecycle for help.
Will you translate for me, Jessica?
Yes, of course.
So thank you so much for participating today in our meeting. Unfortunately, the processing payments, well, we recognize that this is a very difficult time for recycling centers.
Muchas gracias por su comentario y por participar en nuestra junta esta mañana. Desafortunadamente, reconocemos que es una situación ahorita difícil para gente que maneja centros de reciclaje.
The processing payments that are fluctuating so much are set by the law, not by CalRecycle, and we can't change them on our own.
Los pagos de procesamiento están establecidos por la ley, no por CalRecycle, y no tenemos control sobre eso.
We do have the authority every few months to look at the scrap value and adjust the processing payments, which we will do again in July. Is that right? Yes. July.
Cada par de meses tenemos la habilidad de determinar el costo de la chatarra o el costo de cierto material, y así entonces podemos ajustar los pagos de procesamiento.
But want to recognize that this is very challenging for the recycling centers, and we hope that we can continue the conversation about how can we make the system work better for businesses like yours that are trying to serve the state of California.
Pero otra vez sí queremos reconocer que es un momento difícil para centros de reciclaje o gente en la industria en este momento, y queremos seguir teniendo estas conversaciones.
Sí, pues se les agradece, muchas gracias, y pues sí, se exige un cambio, amablemente, ¿verdad? Gracias por escucharme, gracias a todos.
Thank you so much for listening. Again, we plead for your help. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for being here. It is so much appreciated.
Good morning again. Jeff Donlevy with Ming's Recycling and Ming's Resources. We have 3 processing facilities, 2 in Sacramento and 1 in Hayward. Thank you for putting up with me at the last meeting, my little breakdown, but all the love and support for Gray Bears was huge. They've received a lot of callings from that last meeting, so thank you. I'll chime in with what one of our customers from Guyton Recycling was saying. The recycling centers truly are struggling right now. You heard it from him, you heard it at the last meeting. One of the things I pointed out in the legislation is I think it does give CalRecycle staff the ability to do things that they're not doing right now by ensuring that recycling centers are profitable. And with the processing payment calculation, I think there's a key word that says CalRecycle will provide a processing payment that is at least the difference between the operating cost and the scrap value, at least. I think historically CalRecycle has paid the actual difference. So I think that one word, least, at least, 2 words, gives you the discretion to do something different than you've done in the past, especially for the higher cost areas and during these great times of need. I've done a chart, I could share it with anybody that's interested, but right now recycling centers, based on the operational costs that CalRecycle is looking at, the processing payments and the scrap values, the average recycling center is losing 8 cents a pound for every pound of PET that they bring in. Based on the volumes going in, recycling centers are going to lose $30 million this year. And that's the difference between the processing payments and the scrap values. and their operational cost. And that divided by all the recycling centers like Guyton's, MR, the people that you heard last week, we're at a much different time than 2 years ago or 5 years ago. So it is just a matter of time until people just completely give up on the program. So again, continue to ask for your help. So 2021 and 2022, as we all know, were the two biggest years in the program. The highest number of container sales, 27 billion containers sold. The highest number of containers recycled through the redemption centers and curbside programs. I think we were looking at 19 billion containers sold or redeemed. But we also experienced the two greatest years of container losses. Close to 8 billion containers were lost. If we go back to 2019, I think the containers lost was around 4.5 billion. So right now, because of the closures of recycling centers, going back to 2019, we're looking at about 3 billion containers being lost. That's all really good material to support the circular economy. It's not being recovered through the MRFs or the curbside programs. It's really going into the landfills, or worse, it's going to the rivers, the streams, and out to the ocean at some point. So we need to focus on opening up redemption centers, especially in the underserved areas in Northern California, the Bay Area. Looking at the recent certification list, I think Northern California has seen one new recycling center, I think down in Madera or Modesto, that's opened up this year. Southern California has seen about 60 redemption centers open up. Nobody's interested in doing business in Northern California because the cost structure is so much different than other parts of the state. So we need some help for the Northern California or the higher cost unserved areas. So one of the things that I've asked for is a fast track for certification for redemption centers in these unserved areas. So it's a little quicker. I'm asking move them to the front of the line so those unserved areas can get opened up, and do everything you can to get them open up. I was just talking to somebody today that their process took approximately 2 years to open up in an area that burned down. So just reopening took them about 2 years. I think that's kind of unacceptable. Right now, as I mentioned at the last meeting, plastic markets are very bad. Importation of cheap resin and flake is hurting the California reclaimers, which affects them and what they can pay the recycling centers or the processors for their material. What we're looking at right now is a high inventory at the processing facilities like ours and even the reclaimers. So the recovery is going to be long and slow. We're not looking at a V-shaped recovery. We're probably looking at an L-shaped recovery going well into the fourth quarter. So the processor's ability to pay higher prices to the recycling centers to help them out, I think, is going to be very slow and drawn out over the next couple months. So at the last meeting, I was asking if CalRecycle can increase the processing payments rather than October 1st, accelerate those up to August 1st. If you can't do August 1st, can you do September 1st? Every little bit will help these recycling centers that are all struggling. At the last meeting, I also asked about CalRecycle hosting a meeting in Southern California with the recycling centers. I'd still like to see if that was done. But then for the monthly meetings, just to increase general participation, it's good to see people here, but I haven't seen it done since I've been in the program for 25 years. Hosting maybe 3 meetings in Southern California to get the Southern California people to participate and actually show up so they can attend and participate. As you know, I've said all along, the bottle bill seems to be the can that continually gets kicked to the curb. There's no legislation out there right now that is going to increase new recycling centers or pay the existing recycling centers more money. So we're hoping through your leadership, comments, discussions that you're having with administrative staff and legislative staff, that there can be some solutions that can be enacted hopefully in the next month or two that will actually result in new redemption centers being opened in underserved areas and the existing recycling centers being paid a higher amount than what they're paid right now because it's just not cutting it. There's not enough incentive to open a recycling center in these high-cost areas. So thank you for your consideration. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dunleavy. Much appreciate your comments and your engagement with this program.
Okay, thank you.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Happy Tuesday. My name is Paul Bahu. I'm the president of Global Plastics Recycling. We are a reclaimer based in Paris, California, the only family business in this space. Everyone we compete with, they're big billion-dollar multinational conglomerates, and then there's me, yay. So I just kind of wanted to draw a through line from what the gentleman from Guyton, is that what the company's called? Guyton? To Ming's to me. So it's all part of this kind of supply chain. And I want you guys to kind of think of it not as like siloed segments, but as the human body, you know. The arm bone's connected to the wrist bone's connected to the hand bone, right? Same kind of thing. So bales from Guyton go to our good friend Jeff at Ming's. They get it, they bale it, and then I buy it through PRCC, who is also in attendance. See, the whole gang's here. So I'm the one that takes the bales, breaks them apart, sorts out the junk, grinds it, washes it, and then sells it to either the bottle-to-bottle direction or to the thermoforming direction. So we are the hidden middle part of this whole process. And I came here today, I flew up, got the early flight, for two things. First is to tell you that we need the PMDP announcement ASAP, because like Jeff was saying, it's been bad. It's been bad for probably 3 quarters. You know, everything just fell off of a cliff in September. The market lost 80% of its value. I mean, people were jumping off of buildings during the Great Depression for less. So it was pretty bad. And things got a little better, but then just kind of stagnated. And right now we're at 12 cent a pound bales for A grade. Really, really low. And I think that the problem I'm experiencing, it kind of trickles downstream, which is twofold. The first is that we kind of had this force majeure issue with all of the storms, all the wet weather came in, the thermoforming industry literally underwater as all these farms are now a lake in the Central Valley. Everything is too wet. Driscoll's, their suppliers can't even harvest because it's too muddy out there. So the demand shriveled. Simultaneously, the cost to ship from East Asia to the Port of Long Beach or to California massively dropped. During COVID, it was up to 20 grand a container. My buddy Irvin does a lot of exporting. Irvin, what was the most you paid to ship? Well, how expensive did it get? No, not right now. I'm saying during COVID, buddy. When it was crazy expensive. How much was it? Yikes! 25,000 just to ship from East Asia to here. Now how much is it? Wow. So all of this material that was building up in East Asia that couldn't get over here because the cost of logistics was too high to bring it over, now it's just flooding the market. And I find myself competing with companies from East Asia who are selling flake for up to 10 cents less than I'm selling it. And so that's why you've had this price just slowly go down, and you see the misery from Ming's and the misery from Guyton, because I was only buying half capacity, if that, during the busy season because I didn't have the orders. And so these guys who, much like us, it's a very seasonal business, and you have your good months and you have your bad months, and then at the end it balances out and you hope that you turn a profit at the end of it. Well, it's been nothing but bad months. And so you had the weather that decreased the demand, but then at the same time you had all this cheap material coming in. So for what demand there was, it was all coming from East Asia. So we were struggling, which means he's struggling, which means he's struggling, and it just kind of rolls downhill. Now, I was in June, and I was struggling. Usually June, everyone's coming to me. Everyone wants to be my best friend. Hey, Paul, what's up? Can I get 10 loads? Hey, can I get this? I'm a popular guy in June. This year, nothing. Phone, dead. So suddenly, when we came back from 4th of July, I started getting a lot of calls, and a lot of people started saying, hey, I want to get some orders. Now, what happened the last week of June to change things? Any ideas? It's okay, you don't know. Governor Newsom signed the extra PMDP bump into law. So now the people who were connected with that said, oh, wow, my 3 cents a pound is now going to turn into 6, turn into 7. Now that's more of a reason for me to buy the California stuff, not the import stuff. So the people who were like connected with it, they started buying overnight. Boom. I started having orders. I started hiring people again. Good news, right? This is what you want. But there are other companies, bigger buyers, bottling companies, that need an official announcement before they change any behavior. And I think that once you guys make that announcement, and the sooner the better, they're going to change their buying strategies, because now suddenly, oh, if I buy this California stuff, I'm going to make 7 cents a pound extra. So now I can buy this instead of the stuff that I'm importing. There's always a month kind of a delay because containers on the ocean. But this is how you turn it around real quick. You can solve my problem, Jeff's problem, and the gentleman who I've never met, but over there. It's all connected, and you can kind of fix this with I think, something that's well within your within your means, which is just make the announcement. Announce it ASAP. Announce it yesterday. Let all the big players know, hey guys, California's got the subsidy. It's bigger. It's here. Come to dinner. And that's what we need, and that's why I flew up here today, is just to implore you guys, please make the announcement. And I would also add, if you could make it retroactive, because we've just been suffering and getting slaughtered. And, if you guys said, oh yeah, it starts in Q3, everything from July forward for the next 2 years, you're going to get this, that's awesome, because that changes everyone's approach to purchasing, particularly the bigger firms who think bigger. But if you can make it retroactive, that means we can start getting checks on the next one. We can get this relief ASAP, as opposed to, oh, I'm not going to see anything until Q2 2024. We're still really struggling. In September, before the market dropped, I had like 130 employees, and now I'm at like 90. Not great, particularly in June. This is when I'm supposed to be busy. This is when I'm supposed to be 7 days a week and cranking out and buying all of Jeff's inventory. And actually, just because I got this first wave of orders, I'm getting like 3 loads a day from you guys now. So we're making it happen. We're making it happen. It's just the beginning. And there's obviously how you guys play it will really make a difference in terms of how quickly we're able to capitalize on this, this extra money that's been awarded, and can really go a long way to solving all of our immediate problems. Obviously, there's bigger picture issues. There's other things there's always work to be done. But for like right now, that is the single best thing you can do to kind of jumpstart this patient having cardiac arrest on the table. So I am 100% available for you guys if you ever want to have questions about the market and how this whole thing fits together, and why is this happening? Why is this guy coming to my office and yelling at me? And why is this person saying they're broke, hat in hand, asking for extra money? I can tell you this stuff because I'm the one in the middle. I'm the one that processes it, and then I'm the one that knows where, who's buying, or, where it's going, if it's being used. So there is a huge marketplace, and it's great. And California has this amazing integrated system, and it just needs to be taken care of. And the best way to do that is to make sure all aspects of it are healthy, from the recycling center and the MRF all the way to the end user. And I do think that the PMDP is the vehicle to make this happen. So I implore you again, please, as soon as you can, make the announcement. People are waiting. Once you do that, it's going to open things up. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, good morning, Director Wagner, staff. After that presentation, I don't know what PMDP is, but I want in on that. And so if we can get access, great. My name is Joe Perez, and I work with Olin's Recycling. We're a silicon-based technology company. And wanted some clarification on, I believe, AB 101, that says there's $73 million available for building recycling infrastructure with RVMs and bag drop. Wanted to get an idea of when that was available, if it's available, and how we can help our retail partners get access to that. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for your question. And we're right now in the process of brainstorming, developing criteria, and we're hoping to bring those either through workshop, through our listserv, to you all very, very soon.
Okay.
So just to put some light on that, so as this conversation is really enlightening in this respect today. The beverage container recycling program is in a transition period and an evolution period because a number of pieces of legislation that passed, budget appropriations that have been made. And as we are trying to integrate more opportunities for technology, we are in a bit of this transition period is a bit of a limbo between the way we used to do things and where we're trying to get to. So in developing that criteria, we really want to help create a longevity for these solutions to come to market and really be successful so that these initial investments by the state can be sustainable without subsidization in the long term. So that is a little bit of a period of trying to figure out how you develop that criteria. So the short-term market development leads to long-term sustainability and success so that you don't have to keep coming back and looking for more statutory or budgetary support.
Sure. Well, we appreciate that. We'd love to be part of any projects or committees if available. Also wanted to talk a little bit about the handling fee. We know the handling fee changes in July of next year. We know that it's at a penny now, a little over a penny. Historically, it's been below that. Are there any plans to keep it above a penny? If you look at all of the other 9 DRS states, they're all well over a penny, and I think that would be helpful for folks like our friends in the back that operate the over-the-scale operations and basically any RC that's on a grocery store parking lot. I think it'd be very beneficial to keep the handling fee at a reasonable
all of the formulas for payment out of this program are very prescribed pursuant to the statute. Yep. So it will, what we really want to do is find a way to make this system, again, give it the longevity and sustainability, and support those businesses that are going to have that, that are going to contribute in that way. So definitely worth a conversation in that context, but keeping in mind that it is very prescribed. This is not a subjective judgment or on the basis of or on the part of the department, and that we really have to just follow the law.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. And then some final comments. With regard to electronic payments, so Resource Code 14531 was legislated in 2019, and it affords RCs to make electronic payments to consumers. So it was in the legislation, it's been passed, but it hasn't been put or adopted into regulation. So curious to see when it could be adopted, because that's a great benefit to not only the recyclers out there that would love to offer that, but also many of the retailer partners that we work with. I've been in this space for over 15 years working with all the major grocers, and they really don't like the cash or the voucher system in their store. They prefer it just let the recycler take the onus on being able to make electronic payments. So it's in legislation, but it has not been adopted in regulation. We'd love to see how soon that could happen.
Appreciate the comment, and we'll go back and take that under advisement. I think it's a great opportunity for us to integrate that into the work that we're doing to implement the other aspects of the changes to this program.
Awesome. Great. I think that's all I have. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for participating today.
Morning. Hi, Sally Horton, PRCC. I just want to emphasize and reiterate what these guys are saying. So we're the buyers, we represent the brands, and as you can imagine, our concern is getting enough mandated content. And so we're that one step high on the buyer end. And so we want to support the reclaimers, we want to make sure that the processors and recyclers are made whole. So I think CalRecycle, as Jeff pointed out, can look a little more closely at some of the formulas that are used. For example, as Jeff mentioned about the processing payments, that some of that language could be perhaps CalRecycle. I know you're within the law, but that's something that you could interpret to help. I also want to emphasize that we're also supporting a bill, SB 353, which is changing the processing payments and the speed of the processing payments so that they're not over a year, that they're every 3 months. And we're also trying to, in that bill itself, we're putting more money towards the reclaimers. Actually, we're hoping to spend or to have 31 million from the redemption, from the money from the pot to help with recyclers. So I'm really trying to push here that CalRecycle can look at some of the formulas that they do and perhaps interpret them a little bit more in favor of recyclers. That is within the law. That can be done with the COLA, that can be done with the processing payments, and certainly with, as Jeff mentioned, with the processing payments. But please, with mandated content coming, we have to support the recycling centers. We have to make them whole. Whatever you can do to make sure that they are, if we lose more, we're not going to meet our mandated content. It's as simple as that. And we want to make sure that everyone in that infrastructure, every stakeholder is made whole. That's really all I want to say. Thank you.
Are there any more comments in the room today? Looks like there's one more.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to add a couple more things for those playing along at home. Paul was very good talking about the PMDP, the plastic market development payments. They were scheduled to decrease from $10 million last year to $7 million this year, and then $3 million in FY 24-25, and then they were going to be eliminated. I believe the budget that Governor Newsom signed authorized $10 million in the PMDP money for the next 5 years. That, like he said, it equates to an extra 3 to 4 cents that helps the beverage manufacturers, it helps the reclaimers, and that money comes to the processor that goes right to the recycling centers. So with that being announced, as soon as that gets announced, I think that'll stimulate more buyers, and we're talking major buyers coming back into the market. Right now, Mexico, who is sitting on the sidelines for buying containers from California, they weren't there because the market was falling. 2 weeks ago, the doors to Mexico are wide open because they're predicting this is the bottom of the market, but they're not offering more prices. They're just trying to gobble up as much as they can at the lowest price that's out there. And then what would happen in turn, they would buy it at the low price, use their low land, labor, and operating costs to compete again against the California reclaimers. So that's just something to be aware of. One of the things that I missed, and Joe was talking about through the regulations, hopefully there could be a workshop with the recycling centers and the processors talking about the regulations that need to be changed. There's many that are out there. One that I would like to ask as we're heading into the heavy season is the 100-pound load limit. I've talked about it before, but right now, honest recycling centers have to turn away or pay scrap to a consumer that comes in with over 100 pounds. I'd like to see if we could change the legislations that would allow the recycling centers to accept over 100 pounds with definitely some controls put on them, going back to the old 250 logs where we'd have to report every day somebody that brings in over a load limit, but having some verification that it's a local business or a local organization within a certain distance from the recycling center. Because the honest recycling centers are losing business. If we turn somebody away, or if we did turn somebody away, they could easily go find somebody that was going to skirt the regulations and split the load. I think you're going to have overwhelming support from the recycling centers to amend the regulations on the 100-pound load limits, and being willing to work with you and provide information on those that might have large loads, especially going into January 1, 2024, with wine and spirits entering the program. Those that collect from bars and restaurants are going to exceed the 1,000-pound limit. That's pretty much a guarantee, which is going to put the recycling center operators into I'll say a combative situation with these customers coming in that have 1,100, 1,200, 1,300 pounds that they've collected from a major bar or restaurant. But if there was some allowance to gather that information to make sure that it was truly a local person or business, I'm sure all the recycling centers would get on board with that. Prepayment controls has been an issue in the past where there's been spikes, and CalRecycle just kind of shuts the door and says the processors have to hold payments until CalRecycle gives them the green light. With prepayment controls, I could easily put a small recycling center on the verge of bankruptcy because all their cash is tied up in the money that they paid out. So hopefully in the near future, we could schedule a workshop with the recycling centers and the processors. Just grab the whiteboard or whatever we're using these days and toss out all the ideas that recycling centers and processors would like help in changing the regulations to make it easier to do business in the program today. So thank you.
Anyone else have a comment in the room today? Okay, so now we will move to our public comment portal comments. And today, CalRecycle Chief Deputy Director Mindy McIntyre is here to guide us through public comments submitted digitally.
I do want to clarify, though, that I did notice in a couple of the public comments today that there were items not directly related to agenda items or specifically to CalRecycle's implementation of programs. And so I'm going to ask that the Deputy Director not read those comments. I don't think it's appropriate for members of the public to use this public forum to advertise their own services for specific implementation of our programs. And so any comments to that effect will not be read pursuant to this public meeting.
Great. First comment is from Nigel Dart from Halo Glass Recycling. Apologies. Halo Glass Recycling has recently entered the glass beneficiation business and would like some clarification around the recent notice with the subject line, making full CRV payments to recycling centers. When we are supplied single-stream material, the material often has a negative value due to contamination levels. As a result, the final payment is less than the CRV amount. Does this mean we are in violation?
Hi, Nigel. Thank you for reaching out. I'm going to have our staff call you specifically to talk about this situation because each situation might be a little bit different depending on what type of program you're purchasing from, whether it's a recycling center versus curbside, et cetera, and other factors associated with your program. So our statistical information section will call you later today, and I believe that they've been in touch with your staff in the last few days. Thanks.
Next comment is from Karima Mary from Recycling Innovations. When is the $73.3 million available to build recycling infrastructure? Bag drops and RVMs, handling fees, keep handling fees over a penny. California recycling operators have the highest cost of operating compared to the 9 other DRS states. 9 of the 10 bottle bill states have a much higher handling fee payment for handling UBCs. They list the amounts here.
So appreciate that, and as one of our other stakeholders who participated here mentioned, we are working on those criteria, again, as the beverage container recycling program is in a period of transition, trying to figure out how to integrate that technology in a way that is compliant with the Act, as well as bringing us into the evolution of the technological evolution that we need to get to is absolutely critical. And so we're working on that criteria now, and hopefully we'll have that out here in the next couple of months.
The next comment is from Leonard Lang. I'm just going to read it as is. What communication says the department had with the legislature regarding changing the law pertaining to processing payments to avoid these problems?
Mr. Lang, thank you for your comment and question. It is not appropriate for the department, as we are part of the executive branch, to comment on the legislative process. When the legislature reaches out to the executive branch or the department specifically for technical assistance, we do provide that. But in terms of our opinion and comment on the legislative process, that is not appropriate.
Next comment is from Jose from Ponce Recycling. Dear Director, my name is Jose Ponce. I'm with Ponce Recycling. In the last couple of weeks, PET scrap value has dropped 8 cents. We are now very close to the zero mark. Based on the market information, the next couple of weeks of PET will drop another 5 cents. If this happens, the plastic scrap prices will be in the negatives. And if plastic goes negative, the processors will have no choice but to pass the loss onto the aluminum scrap price. Given the aluminum scrap price is already low, this will have a catastrophic effect. Thank you for the 5-cent increase on the processing payment. Unfortunately, with the current scrap prices being close to zero, 13 cents will have little effect. The fact is the increase does not come close to covering all the costs associated with processing the PET plastic. Just to give you an example, the average cost to deliver a PET container from my recycling center to the processors is 11 cents per pound. With the new processing rate, we would only be left with 2 cents to cover labor, rent, insurance, and all other remaining expenses. The reality is 2 cents will hardly cover anything. Director, please help all the recycling centers. The vast majority of recycling centers cannot hold on for much longer.
I know that this has been the topic of conversation for much of our public comment today. We recognize the challenges that our recycling centers are having. We're utilizing the tools as provided to us by the law, and would like to continue to work with you to adjust as previously stated. We will be making another adjustment to the processing payment here in the next few weeks.
Next comment is from Alex Choi from the Story of Stuff Project. Hello, the 2022 budget bill AB 179 sent out $25 million to fund investing in reusable containers for a DRS system. Can you tell us what the agency has planned or communicated publicly about the disbursement of those funds this year? We would welcome a chance to discuss this further with the department.
Please reach out to my office. Would be happy to talk to you about that further. But those funds will go out together with the changes that we're making to our regulations to allow for reuse as part of our program. And so we are looking forward to get those dollars out, but we want to make sure that, again, like any of our other funding programs, that we're getting those dollars out in a sustainable way that make the business utilizing those dollars successful for the long term and without ongoing subsidization. So thank you for the comment, and happy to chat with you further about where we are in that process.
Next comment is from Leonard Lang. What resources is the director dedicating to ensure the rulemaking calendar is addressed and completed this year per the rulemaking calendar?
Mr. Lang, thank you for your question. Our rulemaking calendar, as many of our engaged constituencies know, is very, very full this year. We are going using all of our resources to the best of our ability to meet all of the requirements across this department in order to ensure that we get the regulations that are most needed out first, and that we meet the statutory deadlines and requirements as provided.
Mr. Lang has another comment. The adoption of prepayment control regulations was recommended by the state auditor in 2024. Will the director consider discontinuing this policy until regulations are properly adopted pursuant to the APA?
And that was in 2014.
Mr. Lang, thank you so much for the comment and question. I am going to confer with our legal counsel and will not answer that question today.
One other comment was submitted by Mr. Edgar, and I believe he provided those comments today.
We're good.
That's all the comments.
Okay, so thanks everyone who participated in today's public meeting. You can find the videos from today's meeting posted to CalRecycle's YouTube channel by the end of the day tomorrow. As we work to make our communication as accessible, inclusive, and relevant to Californians as possible, we welcome your feedback through CalRecycle's public comment portal. Have a great rest of your morning and week, and we will see you next month. Thank you.